Hello there, good morning and welcome to the WP Builds WordPress weekly newsletter number 54. This newsletter covers the WordPress news for the week commencing the 11th of March 2019 and it was published on Monday the 18th of March 2019. Just a couple of things before we begin. If you wouldn't mind going over to the newly beautified WP Builds subscribe page at wpbuilds.com/subscribe. It's not that beautiful, to be honest, but there you go. And you can subscribe to all of the things that we do. We're on YouTube and we have a newsletter. In fact, we have two newsletters because we've started a new one and you can find it on that page. There's two forms. One is to be alerted to the weekly news and the weekly podcast that we do. And the other one is to be alerted for product deal discounts, that kind of thing. So when a product discount comes through on my email, I'm going to immediately turn around and post it to that email list so that you can benefit from those. I'm going to make it really clear in the title what it's about. So for example, it might be 20% off the awesome plugin so that you know I don't need to open this and you could just bin it. But if it looks appealing, you could open it up. The other thing to say is go to /webinars. We've got some webinars coming up this week. /deals if you want to get some deals off some WordPress products, and /advertise if you would like to advertise on the WP Builds podcast. Speaking of which, the WP Builds newsletter is brought to you today by Kinsta. Are you tired of unreliable or slow hosting? If so, check out Kinsta, who takes managed WordPress hosting to the next level. Powered by the Google Cloud Platform, all their plans include PHP 7, SSH and 24/7 expert support. Migrate today for free at kinsta.com. And we do really sincerely thank them for their support of the WP Builds podcast and newsletter. Okay, let's get stuck into the news items today. The first one is under the umbrella of WordPress Core and it's on the WP Tavern website and it's entitled WordPress 5.1.1 Patches Critical Vulnerability, and it says WordPress 5.1.1 was released yesterday evening with an important security update for a critical cross-site scripting vulnerability found in 5.1 and prior versions. The release post credited Simon Scannell of Rips Technologies for discovering and reporting the vulnerability. Essentially, an attacker could take over a WordPress site which has comments enabled. There was some jiggery-pokery where they would misdirect you to a site of their choice and then they would be able to then access your own site via cross-site scripting. And if you have comments enabled, which of course WordPress does by default, they would be able to run some remote code and get a full takeover of your server. So obviously this is pretty critical. If you've got WordPress automatic updates enabled, which I hope you have, then you should be updated and probably got an email to say that you were. If not, go and update immediately because you possibly have got comments switched on and you don't want this to happen. So there we go. Nice to see that things are being updated to keep us safe. The next few items are under the umbrella of community. The first one, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, that WordCamp Nordic was going to have some kids workshops. The idea would be that they would put some children in front of a WordPress install and get them to create content and see how simple it was to use WordPress. Well, it's happened. And really, it's just a lovely little post on WP Tavern with some photographs of some children sitting around interacting with WordPress. And I think it's lovely. I mean, obviously, it wasn't particularly high-level stuff. They were interacting with Gutenberg and they were creating posts and adding content and adding images and those kind of things. But nevertheless, that's how it all begins. And what's fascinating, what came out of it was that they were completely agnostic about the editor, so whether it was the block editor or Gutenberg, they didn't care because they didn't bring any baggage or expectations and they were able to edit things with Gutenberg or the block editor very, very easily. Anyway, just a lovely, lovely community bit of news that I'm passing on. The next one is requiring or asking the community to test the WordPress for Android 12.0 beta. It's rolled out and essentially they've made some modifications to the block editor. They've added the capability for you to do things with the block editor in the beta version of 12.0, and very simply I'm mentioning this so that if you're an Android user and you want to check and test the beta version of the Android version of WordPress, now is the time to do it because they need your help. Okay, the next community piece of news is over at the MrWweb.com website, and it's entitled WordPress Community Session at 2019 Non-Profit Technology Conference was a big success. There's not a lot more to say about it than that really, other than that earlier this week a whole bunch of people went to a non-profit technology conference, or NTC, and they spoke about WordPress with the people there. And so this article is lots of photographs, lots of people interacting, possibly for the first time with WordPress, people explaining about how things work in lightning talks and what the community can do and how you can interact with WordPress and how you can use it. Just nice to see that people are stretching outside of WordCamps to spread the news about WordPress. This one is all about the dreaded subject. If, like me, you live in Britain, there is one word which you fear to speak, and it is the word Brexit. Well, if you are selling from the United Kingdom into Europe, or conversely from Europe into the United Kingdom, and you're a plugin developer or a theme developer, then you need to know about your position vis-a-vis Brexit, because things like the tax regime are going to change, the amount of paperwork that you're going to have to produce when you sell things cross-border will change as well. And so this article on the freemius.com website, which I've linked to in the show notes, is explaining what your obligations are and how you might go about tackling those so that you are compliant with the law. Now, it's a bit of a piece where they're trying to promote the Freemius platform, because at the end they go on to say, well, we'll take care of this for you. And, well, that might be an option too. Freemius is a growing platform for distributing and selling WordPress-based products, so maybe that's something you want to look at as well. Okay, the next one falls under the banner of security, and you can find this on the WordFence website. It's entitled XSS Vulnerability in Abandoned Cart Plugin Leads to WordPress Site Takeovers. The long and the short of it is that if you have the Abandoned Cart Lite for WordPress or the Abandoned Cart Pro for WordPress plugin, you are leaving yourself vulnerable. A lack of sanitization on both input and output allows attackers to inject malicious JavaScript payloads into various data fields, which will execute when a logged-in user with administrator privileges views the list of abandoned carts for their WordPress dashboard. As always, WordFence do a great job of writing up the technical details, but all I'm going to say here is if you've got that plugin, Abandoned Cart, for WooCommerce, then maybe it's time to get yourself updated immediately, because there is a fix for this and you should go and get it. And you can read all about the technical details on the WordFence website. Okay, some nice plugin updates this week. The first one is from the Beaver Builder team, and fairly left field, I didn't see this one coming. They've launched in beta a new product called Assistant. Now, I'm going to really struggle to explain what this does, but Brent from the Beaver Builder team has made an excellent video, and if you click on the link, you'll be able to see what it does. Essentially, you will have a little icon once this plugin has been installed at the bottom right of your screen. It looks a little bit like a very chubby pencil, and you click on that and a menu, like a sidebar, swoops in from the right of the screen, allowing you to interact with all sorts of things that you might traditionally be left going to the WP admin to do. So, for example, you can change post titles, you can find posts that you wrote within a certain time frame, you can add and get URLs for images. And so it really, I think the intention here is that over time it will become a very simple interface for doing many of the jobs that you have to click multiple times to find in the WP admin. Now, at the moment, the options are fairly limited, but the intention of this is that it becomes a platform, not a plugin. So other people will then contribute their own code through the API and will be able to add features, bolt features on top. But I did not see this coming. Very exciting. It's called Assistant, Everyday Productivity Apps by the Beaver Builder team. Go and click on the show note link to find out more. WPMU Dev have updated their Forminator plugin. Forminator is their rival to Gravity Forms and Ninja Forms and so on. And they've added the ability to add quizzes through a wizard. Now, they've had the ability, I believe, to add quizzes for a fairly long time, since it's been out more or less, but now they've added this sort of wizard which steps you through the process so that you can create your quizzes with the answers and the feedback of the results in a much more intuitive UI. Looks pretty good. I actually did have a play with it and I was able to come up with something pretty quickly. So if you're using it, there you go, you've got a nice update to look at. Here's another new thing. This is called Warp iMagick, and it's spelt iMagick, and it appears to be a free optimization plugin for WordPress images. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole lot, but it does things like reduce image size, reduce the original image size, works on servers where execution is not allowed. It does quality. You can vary the quality of the compression and the type and all of that kind of stuff, and it looks pretty good to me. I confess I haven't tried it. It came across my newsfeed, so I thought I'd mention it to you if you are in need of cheap, in this case free by the looks of it, image optimization to speed up your WordPress website. Okay, and the last one, which comes under the banner of plugins, this is Brainstorm Force's ultimate add-ons for Elementor. They've added a lovely new feature for you Elementor users, which enables you to put a video into your page or post, and then when the video is scrolled out of the viewport, it pops the video into a corner so that you can carry on watching it. I can imagine this would be really good for kind of like tutorial websites where, you know, you're trying to explain something and looking at the code, which might go on, or a tutorial of something else. You don't want them to keep having to scroll back up to see where the video is and pause it. So it sticks it at the left or the right of the screen. You can then actually interact with it with your mouse and position it on the screen where you like, but it only happens when you scroll the video out of view, and it looks really cool. So you've probably seen this with things like Facebook. They do this, but now if you're an Elementor user, you can do this too. So that's a really nice update. So this next one is about us, WP Builds. This week we had episode 119, which was entitled Using Groundhog to Self-Host Your Email Marketing with Adrian Toby. Okay, so Groundhog is a plugin which you can use to automate all of your emails. You've come across platforms like this before as SaaS apps, things like ActiveCampaign and Infusionsoft, which I believe is now called Keep. But the idea with this is that you can do all of this inside of WordPress. It's got all the stuff that you'd imagine. You know, you can tag and have flows and funnels, and you can have criteria. If they do this, then do this. And it's all built inside of WordPress. So if you want to take control of that, and Groundhog looks like the thing for you, go and check out that post on the WP Builds website. Okay, that's all the WordPress news I've got for you this week, but I've got 3 items which are nothing to do with WordPress. The first one is just to let you know, you probably knew already, that Facebook had a massive outage this week. I don't honestly know what happened, but the search engine journal is saying that, you know, basically it was the end of the world. For me, it disabled me from posting 1 or 2 items, but I think for some people, Facebook has become super duper important, and their entire business might revolve around it. So an outage could be serious stuff. It's back up. It came back up within a matter of hours, is my understanding. But if you didn't know, that happened this week. Now, the next one is really, I did not see this one coming either. It looks like it's about WordPress because it kind of is, but it's also not. It's on the WP Tavern website. It's called Automatic Takes on Facebook with a Meditation on the Open Web. This is really intriguing. Automatic have put out a video on YouTube. It's not very long. It's like 2.5, 3 minutes long. I imagine it was quite expensive because it's beautifully animated. And it's sort of this dystopian view of the world. It's like a cartoon, and it tries to make the point that here's Facebook. It's closed and it feels claustrophobic and like a big, busy, noisy city. Here's Instagram, the same thing. But here's WordPress, open fields, the birds are chirping, it looks lovely. Very strange, but the point is good. You know, the idea of all of these closed platforms that we're giving all of our data to, ultimately, I think if you're using WordPress, you probably, on some level, have an objection to that. Perhaps you don't. But Facebook are in the targets of Automattic, who are trying to position themselves as a custodian of the open web. Certainly very interesting. Go and check out the video, see what you make of it for yourself. And this next one, a Chrome extension I've got for you this week. This Chrome extension is called Cloud Vision. It's really intriguing because all that it does is it adds a menu to your right-click menu. It's called Cloud Vision, and then when you've done the right click, you get three options. You get text detection, label detection, and face detection. Now, the one that I can see myself using is text detection. So you see an image, there's some text on it, click the button in this Chrome extension, and it will suck out the text for you. It will turn the text from the image into a copy-pastable bit of text. It'll work out all the labels on the image itself. So, for example, it will be able to tell you that this image has been tagged with looking like a bird or an animal or what have you. I'm not sure how that's done. I don't know if that's an AI type of thing and it's actually working out what it thinks the image is. I'm not sure. And it will also work out where all the faces are. Again, I'm not sure why that would be useful, but I like the text detection thing. So that's why I'm mentioning it this week. Okay, there you go. That's the news that I've got for you this week. I hope you found something of value in that. The WP Builds newsletter was brought to you today by Kinsta. Kinsta takes managed WordPress hosting to the next level. Powered by the Google Cloud Platform, your site is secured like Fort Knox and runs on speed-obsessive architecture. You get access to the latest software and developer tools such as PHP 7, SSH, and staging environments. The best part, their expert team of WordPress engineers are available 24/7 if you need help. You can migrate today for free at kinsta.com. And as I said before, we thank Kinsta very much for their support of the WP Builds podcast. Hopefully I'll see you at some point, either in the Facebook group, possibly on YouTube, possibly in a webinar that I'm going to be doing with Adrian Toby from Groundhog later this week. And if none of that happens for you, maybe I'll catch you on the podcast on Thursday or back here for the news next Monday. Bye-bye for now.